Okay, picture this. The year is 2022. The place, a courtroom in Fairfax, Virginia. But here's the thing. The 7 jurors in that room, they weren't the only ones delivering a verdict. Not even close. The real trial was happening online, where millions of people were watching, judging, and, yeah, memeing, one of the biggest celebrity spectacles in history.
So, on one side, you've got Johnny Depp, Captain Jack Sparrow himself, claiming he's the real victim of domestic abuse, and on the other, his ex-wife, Amber Heard, who wrote an op-ed about being a public survivor. And the craziest part? The article that kicked this whole thing off never even mentioned his name. That one little fact would become absolutely central to the entire case.
So how in the world did an op-ed that named no one lead to a multi-million-dollar verdict that completely captivated the globe? Well, here's how we're going to break it down. We'll start with the trial as this massive viral spectacle. Then we'll get into the actual legal stuff. We're going to compare the 2 very different verdicts in 2 different countries and dig into the role of the most powerful juror of all, the algorithm. And finally, we'll ask what this whole thing tells us about the future of justice itself.
All right, first up, you really have to understand what a circus this was. For 6 straight weeks, this trial was broadcast gavel to gavel, and it just created this firestorm of clips, memes, and hot takes. It was the perfect raw material for a viral machine.
And the evidence, wow, it was just extraordinary. We're talking secret audio recordings of their fights, texts about burning Amber Heard, a story about human feces left on the bed. I mean, come on. Testimony about a severed fingertip, videos of a completely trashed kitchen, and then these horrifying allegations of sexual assault. It was just this relentless, shocking, and deeply personal feed of content served up to the world every single day.
Some moments just became iconic online, and this audio clip was probably the biggest. In it, you hear Amber Heard kind of taunting Johnny Depp, and this clip was played over and over and over on social media. For millions of people, it became a defining piece of evidence.
Then you have this stark contrast. Depp's response on the stand to that very same recording also went viral. His quiet, simple admission, "Yes, I am." It just created this powerful counter-narrative that really resonated with his supporters online.
So while those 7 jurors in Virginia were deliberating, a much, much larger jury, the entire internet, was already reaching its own conclusion. And believe me, it was doing it loudly and very, very decisively.
But see, underneath all that chaos was a genuinely important legal case. So let's just slow down for a second. Let's tune out the noise and really unpack what was actually being argued in that courtroom.
All right, so Depp sued for defamation. But to win, his team had to clear some very specific and actually very high legal hurdles.
The first challenge was that the op-ed never actually named him. But Depp's lawyers, they successfully argued this principle of defamation without naming. They basically said, look, the timing and the context make it super obvious she was talking about him. And you know what? The jury agreed.
Now, the second bar was much, much higher. It's called actual malice. Because Depp is a public figure, U.S. law said he had to prove that Heard knew her claims of being a public figure representing domestic abuse were false, or that she acted with just reckless disregard for the truth. The jury believed he met this incredibly high standard, probably because of those audio recordings where Heard actually admitted to hitting him.
Okay, this is where the whole idea of truth gets really, really complicated. Because this wasn't the first time this evidence was tested in court. Nope, there was another trial, over in the UK, with a completely different outcome.
So check this out. In the US, a jury found for Depp, and they seemed really focused on those viral audio recordings. But in the UK, where Depp sued the Sun newspaper for calling him a wife-beater, a professional judge looked at pretty much the same evidence and ruled against him. Same facts, 2 courts, 2 completely different truths. Wild, right?
And that brings us to the most modern and maybe the most powerful juror in this whole case, the algorithm. And its verdict, well, it may have mattered more than any other.
So get this, researchers who studied the trial's social media footprint found that pro-Depp content absolutely dwarfed pro-Heard content. We're talking by some estimates a ratio of 8 to 1. Now that is not just organic public opinion. That right there is algorithmic amplification. The platforms themselves were rewarding these short, dramatic clips that painted Heard as the villain.
So here's the crucial point. The jury was told not to look at media coverage. But honestly, can any 7 people truly be isolated from the biggest, most viral cultural event happening on the planet for 6 straight weeks?
The legal system has no real answer for that, and that's a profound problem.
There's also the question of strategy. Heard's team argued that Depp's lawyer ran this coordinated PR campaign to destroy her credibility before the trial even started, publicly calling her allegations a hoax. And what's really fascinating is that the jury actually agreed one of his statements was defamatory against Heard. That's why she got awarded $2 million. But the bigger strategy of winning in the court of public opinion first, the system just didn't really know how to deal with that.
At the end of the day, this isn't just about two celebrities in Virginia. This case is a global preview of how justice functions, or maybe how it breaks down, in a world completely dominated by social media algorithms.
Just take Kenya, for example. The legal standards for defamation are different there. There's no actual malice requirement, which puts more of the burden on the person being sued. But the social media dynamics, they are exactly the same.
And that right there is the key takeaway. The algorithm doesn't care about jurisdiction. A viral TikTok can destroy a person's career and reputation anywhere in the world, long before a formal legal process even gets started. You know, our laws were written for an age of newspapers, not for an age of algorithmic justice. In the end, the jury awarded Depp over $10 million and Heard $2 million. They eventually settled for a single payment of $1 million from Heard to Depp, but honestly, the numbers almost feel like a tiny footnote to this much bigger story. So let's just sum it all up. There were really three verdicts in this case. The U.S. jury, they found for Depp. The U.K. judge, they effectively found against him. And the algorithm, well, it found for Depp loudly, consistently, and right from the very beginning.
And that really brings us to the final critical question. You have a professional judge, you have a jury of peers, and you have a global social media machine. They all looked at the same case and came to different conclusions. So which one do you trust?
Because if this case showed us anything, it's that the truth is almost always messy. It's complicated. But the algorithm, this new court of public opinion, it doesn't do complicated. It likes simple heroes and simple villains. And that is a huge challenge our justice systems are only just beginning to wake up to.